Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you like the video, click on like and subscribe and talk about it on chat lines or wherever it is your social media activities and help us to grow and help more people. I'll talk to you soon. Evolve says, hello, male 21 from Oregon. Oh, Oregon. I went to school in Portland. He says, how come it's hard not to repeat oneself or engage in negative thoughts? How come it's hard not to repeat oneself? It's only hard for people with OCD. It's not hard for people who don't have OCD. And if you look at the roots of OCD, which I've explained in some of the videos, it's because you're seeking psychological security. You have insecurities and uncertainties in life, and we all want certainty. So we do certain kind of a funny, crazy things, thinking that if I do that, nothing happens to my dad. If I don't do that, there's a possibility, boy, because there's a certain glitch in the brain that suggests negativity and fearfulness, wants to make things assured and certain, so it creates and conjures up certain kind of a fictitious behavior in order to settle itself and convince itself that I've done what I could do in order to bring balance to that way of thinking. So I feel now everything's fine, nothing bad's going to happen to my dad or to my, loved one, whatever. So if you simply start ignoring any fact to this hypothetical thinking, then you start reversing the OCD. Like, if you think that I got to touch this 10 times, this light switch, because if I do that, then everything is cool and I've figured out the powers that could have anything to do with something bad happening to my loved ones. And I do that 10 times. So it's balanced, it's kind of synchronized, and it'll be all fine. Then you tell yourself, well, why don't I just do 5 times and see anything bad happens? I'm not going to do 10 times. So you do 5 times and you see nothing happen. Next time you say, okay, I'll do 3 times. So for a while you do 3 times. Nothing happens. You're satisfied that 3 times is enough. Then you do once and you see still nothing happens. Then you just do when it's needed to turn it on or turn it off. You can reverse that. Logically, you can reverse it. And then you can trial and error, see really nothing happened. When you want to lock your door and you keep coming back and check, did I lock the door? Did I not lock the door? And you know that you did, but you just want to check again. So because you think you're not sure. So this time, do it with utmost patience and focus, attention. You take the key and look at it. Say, I'm taking the key out of my pocket. And look at the key. It's going into the hole of the keyhole. Now, I can remember. I just did that. You create story. You create memory while you're doing it. You pay attention to every part of it that you're doing. Now I'm turning it. Now my hand is here and I'm pulling the knob and I'm turning the lock. Now I've taken it out and remember the sound that it made, and you put it in your pocket. So when you're down close to the elevator or in the street and you say, did I lock it or not? You have all these memories that you paid attention to. Say, oh yeah, I did. Otherwise, if you have slightest doubt, you come back and check. Why? Because you're kind of laced with the responsibility OCD, because you don't want to cause any trouble for anything. Being responsible for having left the door open, somebody comes and steals something or something bad happens, or you check the oven or God knows how many times just because you don't want anything catch fire and the neighbors or the building be affected by it, and you'd be responsible to have brought harm to your household or other people living in the building if you're living in an apartment. All these are supposedly the motivation or justification for these sort of things. So you got to reverse these by carefully doing what you need to do before you leave home, and other things in the same way. Well, if you constantly do the same thing that has got no use for you, for example, you say that you keep, it says, how do you remove intrusive thoughts that you acknowledge are not useful or real? However, brain will bring it up. First thing you got to do, you got to understand that you don't need to prove or combat with the brain or explain to the brain, convince the brain to do or not to do something. If it's done repetitiously or unnecessarily, you just ignore it. You don't have to debate with the brain as if the brain has any authority in your entity. You see the brain is malfunctioning, doing something, bringing intrusive thoughts, ignore it because you know it's not useful to you. Waste of your time, lots of negative energy, and you don't want to deal with it. Just ignore it. Nothing happens. But you think if you don't deal with it, something bad could happen. It could be true. Now you have to prove it's not true. You don't have to prove anything to anybody, including your brain. So let it do what it does and ignore it. The more you pay attention to it, try to prove it or diffuse it or refute it or whatnot, the more you're spending time with it. And the more you spend time with it, you're creating neuroplasticity. You become really good at focusing on these things, which promotes it to be lingering in its creation and presentation and popping up again and again and again. But if they show up and you just notice it, call it for what it is. That's HOCD, or that's OCD, or that's negative thought, that's intrusive thought. It's not me. That's intrusive thought, it's not me. Or that's OCD, it's not me. Or that's the brain, it's not me. You notice it, call it for what it is, and then you focus on what it is that you want to do, you select to do, you think you should be doing. So this will not spend time on it. It kind of dismisses it and gets on with what it is that you're supposed to accomplish. That creates a different kind of neuroplasticity. It creates a rewiring on the brain that we don't want to become good at doing this thing. So it's a reverse neuroplasticity that you keep not paying attention to it, so you will not become good at paying attention to it. Subscribe on my channel, visit my channel, and go through the videos that you might be interested in. Mind@seekstruth.com is making it one step away to talk to me one-on-one on Skype and discuss what's concerning you. I'll talk to you soon. But we too, like the iceberg, have 1,000 times bigger powers that is not visible, and we must. Why? Is it something we're rambling on and I expect you to accept it? Or is there actually another power within us? Would you come and help me out? Okay. What I want you to do is put your hands underneath my arms and just lift me up. There we go. Okay, now, that's my physical part, right? Same thing. Again, with that. Just want to see if there's any difference. Go ahead. Now, go ahead. Now, this, go ahead when you're ready.
Go ahead.
So you see, this is different than what he was doing, and I'm not really doing anything. You convinced?
Yeah.
So are you guys convinced that there is something other than, thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank you very much.